This show is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find the other great shows on the network, head over to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
We started on our journey together with a paranormal investigation at Eloise Asylum.
We left the asylum eager to learn the truth.
We bought our own equipment and decided to document our findings.
And we're here to share them with you.
I'm Melissa.
I'm Mandy. Welcome to our paranormal experience.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
It's been a while. We've been on a couple of investigations, but we haven't had a chance to record with summer being busy
But now we're back.
And it feels really good to be back.
I just wanted to take a second before we start to give a shout out to the Deluxe Edition Network's podcast of the month, Metalhead Journeys. Metalhead Journeys is a music review and music discovery podcast by Rob and Bill. They cover mainly the metal genre and all of its subgenres. However, the hosts aren't afraid to break out into other regions of music and see what they have to offer. So head on over and check them out. We have gone a few different places and we do have a few things to talk about. The first being a cemetery tour that Mandy put together for us.
I researched cemeteries in Lower Michigan. Some were known to be haunted, some were just old historical cemeteries, and some were just ones that we wanted to visit that we just thought were beautiful or just attracted us. So
Right, they were just interesting.
Just interesting.
Interesting in one way or another.
Yeah. The first one that we went to, it was called the Rumsey Cemetery. And what is really neat about this is it is in the very back of a parking lot of Big Bear Lodge, which is a restaurant. So it was really different to get to, don't you think?
Yeah, it was different to see a cemetery that we have built up things around because it's that old. It's from the 1800s. It didn't stop us from building around it.
No, it didn't. And it seemed like the land was up a little bit higher than the parking lot.
It definitely looked like a hill from the parking lot, but when you were walking up it, it didn't really seem like it was on an incline.
No, not really.
Yeah.
It had a fence around it, and at first we couldn't see how to get in there, but we did end up down a little path with really tall weeds and trees. And
it did take us some time. The entrance is not out where everyone can see it, and I think they probably do that for a reason, but it's not locked. You can go there and visit if you'd like.
It was a really peaceful cemetery, I thought.
It was so quiet.
The trees, they're just so big and I guess just old.
They were oddly twisted.
They looked like your typical cemetery tree if you had to
right, like something you would imagine in like a
house or something.
Yeah,
scary movie.
These graves dated back to the 1800s. The cemetery was really small. It had about 100 graves, but not all of the headstones seemed to be visible or there. So unfortunately, what that means is we weren't really sure if we were stepping on a grave or not. I would say maybe 50 headstones were visible.
Yeah, maybe about that. Some had fallen over and were sunk in the ground, so I don't know if, stuff just grew over it.
They're grown over, yeah.
It was hard to tell.
There was holes in the ground where animals were living. I mean, I think that really nobody visits here anymore, which is kind of sad.
It is sad, I think, which is one of the reasons that I like to go in old cemeteries because...
Right. We don't want them to be lonely.
I don't think they get much visitors.
Moses Rumsey was one of the first pioneers to Brownstown, Michigan. His grave and the graves of his family are there. One of the notable things that I had read about him was that he donated land to create one of the first schools in the area.
That's really nice, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of evidence in this cemetery. We did record with the Necrophonic app, And as we will always say with the Necrophonic app, it is a phone app. We cannot totally trust a phone app. Phone apps can look into your house. I mean, we all know that everything that we say
on a smartphone.
Yeah. It'll show up on Facebook 5 minutes later.
Yeah, or an ad will pop up for it. So we're not saying that these apps are 100% wrong, but we're saying
we're skeptics
about it. We're a little
bit
bit skeptical about it.
But we still use it. We see a lot of other paranormal investigators use them, and it's all part of the process, right? If you don't use it, you can't form an eventual opinion on it. And I want to know what you guys hear. Here's some of those audio recordings.
How many of you are here?
After we say how many of you are here, we hear I am and an 8.
And I thought I may have heard after that possibly something say 10.
Careful.
In this particular section, we hear maybe be careful, or Mandy didn't quite hear the B as strongly as I did. Now, here's a section that I really didn't discern anything from. I just thought that it was interesting for some reason. You know, I'm listening to this audio and I'm listening to it. I mean, this is hours of audio. And I just happened to think that this section sounded different than the rest.
Can you tell us a name over our box? There's some kind of strange noises, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We did try the spirit box in the cemetery as well. I feel that the spirit box is a little bit more reliable than the Necrophonic phone app.
I agree.
Because the spirit box is a separate box. It's not connected to Wi-Fi. It's not connected to the internet. Do we know that it works? I mean, nobody does, right? Or else we would be able to prove that ghosts were real.
That's a good point.
But I do think that it's more reliable than the Necrophonic. Unfortunately, at this cemetery, we did not get anything on the spirit box. The next cemetery that we went to was Oakwood Cemetery.
That one had graves from the 1800 to the present.
Which was really strange. I don't feel like we see that a lot, that large of a range in one cemetery.
Right. Usually they're all really old, or they're all
right
within
newer.
this century anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
This one was really interesting. Like the way you pull in, like I think I passed it like 3 or 4 times.
It's not easy to see off the main road. You have to drive. Almost it feels like you're driving through somebody's backyard to get there.
It does.
When we did get there, the drive is almost horseshoe shaped. You just kind of go around. But it was not.
Well, yeah, and that's when we got there. So like we drove back past people's houses, like down this, what do they call it when like, it's like a 4-wheeler looking trail. 2-track trail. All the way back until we got to the horseshoe.
Yes. And it sounds like it's hidden, and it is, but at the same time, there are neighborhoods and houses around it. The older part of the cemetery wasn't kept up as far as the grass being
not at all
cut. The weeds were tall. But it
and
was beautiful,
I mean, and there was like wildflowers everywhere. And the grass and the weeds were literally up to our knees. We had to lay down, like that. We brought things to sit on. We had to lay those down just to be able to sit. I mean, it was just, everything was so tall.
We're both short. So when we sat down, I don't think anyone could have probably seen us if they drove by because the weeds were so tall.
I didn't even think about that, but that's so true.
Probably scare somebody.
There were poof balls in this cemetery, and I have pictures, and I'm going to put them on Facebook. There were poof balls in this cemetery, you know, like dandelions, how they make the poof ball, and you can blow it, and, you know, you're supposed to make a wish. These things were, like, bigger than my fist.
I have a picture of my
Yeah.
hand in comparison to it, and
Just to scale, because otherwise you just assume it's tiny.
I would, if I had to guess, I would say it's bigger than a grapefruit.
They were really big. They were so neat. I felt like I was in a Dr. Seuss book. Where there's just all these big. Yeah, it was really cool. It was also really, sometimes you go into cemeteries and the ground is kind of sinky. Unfortunately, in these older cemeteries, you don't always know if you're possibly walking on a gravestone. We suspect that possibly things have decomposed, boxes decompose, everything decomposes eventually, right? When it's 100 years old, that ground has just kind of seeped and filled with air, and it's just kind of squashy. So you have to be careful. You don't want to, I don't know. I feel like you could sink pretty far sometimes.
My biggest fear, and I don't really think it will happen, I think it's like an unreasonable fear, but is walking and falling, like it just sinking to and then my foot is in a old rotted body.
Yeah, even if your foot reached down, because people used to be buried in wooden boxes, right?
Yeah.
Even if your foot reached down, it could get stuck. And because there are times when I have sunk pretty far and you've got to get out of there because that ground is not stable.
And I think it probably feels worse than it really is. I think.
Yeah, it probably does, right? When you feel yourself sinking, yeah, you feel
like
a little bit is a lot.
Under you.
It
tends to make your imagination go a little wild,
But this cemetery was absolutely beautiful. It was actually my favorite that we went to. There was butterflies playing. Once we sprayed ourselves, I always take bug spray. Once we sprayed ourselves with bug spray, the bugs calmed down a little bit. We did use the Necrophonic app and the spirit box at the cemetery. We also added in the Ghost Tube app. I don't put a lot of stock in the Ghost Tube app at all. It's really going to have to prove itself to me. And just like the Necrophonic, it's an app. It's iffy. I think that I think from what I can gather, the thought process behind it is instead of listening to radio stations and having the radio station scan, which is the theory behind the spirit box, this app supposedly pulls the words that it hears. I see it used a lot. So I just kind of think, why not try it, play around with it, and see how we feel about it, right? Make an informed decision. So we started sitting by some graves and using the Necrophonic app.
I think I'm the one that picked that grave. The headstone was just really tall and beautiful, and I was just compelled to go sit by it. This person was Lucy Brown. It said Lucy in the background.
Now, what we mean by background is there's a lot of different kind of noises that come out of the Necrophonic app. This is something we've noticed. And what we've noticed is that kind of in the background, like the lower sounding noises, we're hearing words in those. It took a while, I think, for us to kind of train our ear to it. But don't listen to the louder noises. Listen to the softer noises. Well, listen to both. Listen to the softer noises as well.
What is your name? What was your name? Lucy, are you here?
And I did notice that if you put headphones in, you can hear it a lot better than without. If you have headphones, you're really going to be able to hear those softer noises in the background.
Now, this was really interesting to us because we were sitting next to a grave of someone named Lucy. It also makes me a little bit suspicious because we were sitting next to a grave of somebody named Lucy. We had said the word Lucy, so I always wonder, is the Necrophonic app
repeating
something we might have said?
Yes.
It could go either way. I don't know. But a few minutes later, we actually did hear Lucy in the background again. It was exciting, but also suspicious. We just don't know. We got to see a lot of animal prints. I actually had a funny phone call with my mom where Mandy actually found some strange looking animal poop in the field. And my mom tends to know stuff like that, right? Like what, I don't know, like if you're walking, she'll tell you what prints are what and what kind of poop it is. And I sent her a picture and she replied, "It's bear poop, run." And I called her. I mean, there's not bears in the area. But and I called her.
Hello? Are you messing with me?
Hello. There's no bears down here.
Oh my God. Okay.
Didn't you see the LOL? Okay.
All right. Bye.
She was laughing so hard, I swear she was crying. She really thought she had me there. It was hilarious.
I did send the picture to my boyfriend who likes to hunt, and he confirmed it was a female deer.
We did try using the spirit box in this area, and we didn't get anything that I could discern and thought was notable, which also kind of leaves me kind of suspect about the necrophonic, because if we're hearing things on the necrophonic, I feel like we should also be hearing something on the spirit box. Technically, they're supposed to be kind of similar. So after a while, we decided to move to a different part of the cemetery, just to try somewhere new. And we stumbled upon a more recent part of the cemetery, and someone had been buried there actually in 2020. So that was really interesting. And this part of the cemetery was cared for. And it was just one particular family plot. So I think that somebody actually may be coming to the cemetery from that family and mowing that part of the lawn and caring for that section of the cemetery. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's what it kind of seemed like. Don't you think, Mandy?
Yeah, I do. That one little section was just neater than the rest of it.
So we tried the necrophonic there as well. And I do have a few notable pieces of audio that I want to play for you.
Can you guys try to tell us about your lives through this box? Samuel?
This one in particular, I'm really not sure if this is anything notable or not, but it seems like a long sentence that I can't quite make out. It just sounds a little bit different from the rest of the audio.
Is the Vance family here?
Did you guys hear axe there? Because I heard the word axe really clearly there.
I heard axe, or I heard ask, or act, like ACTS. So I feel like it could be axe, or it could have been those other words too. I'm not really sure.
That particular word was so, I don't want to say clear, but it's just so loud. I was just kind of shocked when I heard it. I just let Mandy hear that piece of audio a little bit earlier, and I could tell she was shocked as well.
It was a lot louder than any of the other stuff that I was listening to. It's like something yelled at me, and I wanted to jump.
I don't know. We found that to be kind of neat. We didn't get anything on the spirit box in this area.
We did try the ghost tube. We asked, is anyone here? And it said priest.
Is anyone there?
Priest.
We also heard bribed.
I'm starting to have pareidolia. I thought that grave was somebody else.
Bribed.
What did it say?
Bribed. Was someone bribed? Was the priest bribed? Now, for anyone who's not familiar with this app, it literally has like a little voice in it and it says the words out loud. So that is why you are able to hear it on our audio. It also spells them on the screen. It's not like a communication device in the sense of that's supposed to be the voice of something paranormal. It's just supposed to be pulling words and it says them. The app itself says them out loud.
Next, we went to Oak Forest Cemetery. And this one was more maintained. There were flags.
We assume they were put there Memorial Day.
Yeah, like of all the veterans' flags. A lot were from the War of 1812.
This was kind of interesting to me because like we had said, we just started using the ghost tube. Almost as soon as we sat down, we got something interesting on the ghost tube.
Is anybody out there?
Leave here.
You don't want us here? My name is Melissa. We just wanted to visit.
Leave here.
That's interesting to me because I had the ghost tube on my phone the whole time we were at the cemetery before almost, and we only got a few words. So just sitting down and getting something on it, that did kind of intrigue me.
Another word that we caught was actually a name, and it was Anthony.
If you touch my bear and make the alarm sound, I will leave. It's all you have to do. I will leave immediately.
Anthony.
I did look around to see if there were any graves with a first or last name, Anthony, but I couldn't see it.
So although that was interesting, we don't know if it meant anything or, we don't know what to make of it. And it was a few minutes later that we received word from the ghost tube, and it was Thomas.
Thomas.
We did use the necrophonic in this cemetery as well. And at first we just turned it on and we just let it play. We were a little bit tired by this time. We had been to a couple different places. I'm not even really sure why, because it's not like we walked super far or worked super hard. It was just kind of lazy. It was like relaxing and lazy.
It was, but it was hot at some times.
It was hot.
But
we just kind of turned on the necrophonic and just kind of let it play for a little while just to kind of see if we got anything. And we got a few things. Let me know if what you hear here.
That was me. Gone? Who's gone?
So we heard Gone and It and George. So we use the ghost tube too, and I'll play that for you here.
Closer. Watching you.
And so that's kind of creepy because it says watching you.
yes. And what's funny is it is creepy, but we know that, right? Like, that's what we're looking for.
I mean, if there's ghosts, they're watching us all the time. Like, we never have any privacy. We just don't know it.
Just to have something say it makes
that is
it
creepy.
scarier. And
it sounds like something from a scary movie.
Yeah.
Don't you want to talk to us?
So in this piece of audio, we heard no and sure. Maybe one spirit wants to talk to us and the other doesn't.
That was my thought, that maybe there were 2 different.
There should be many everywhere, right? If ghosts are real, there would be multiple. So, I mean, who's to say we can't receive 2 answers? Now, at this point, I have been listening to this audio for hours, right? And I listened to the necrophonic audio for hours. And I don't know if I just have pareidolia. I don't know if I'm making things that aren't really there. But Mandy does ask what happened in the War of 1812. And I'm going to play the whole section for you, and then I'm going to pick out some things I think I hear. I would like to know if you hear the same thing as me.
What happened in the War of 1812? Can you tell us about it?
I hear men, homeless, men killed them. And then a few minutes later, me and Mandy both hear. Mandy is the one who picked that out. And Mandy, what did you think it said?
Indian?
Mandy had this super cool idea. In her cemetery plan, she had put a pet cemetery in there. She thought I was going to think it was weird, and then she found out I was so excited. We had plans to go to a pet cemetery, and we could not find it. So we drove around and drove around. We were so disappointed.
And it wasn't just pet cemetery where people would put their dogs and cats and birds and rabbits. This was also a cemetery where people would put their farm animals. So cows, horses, goats, whatever. And we thought that was different because we've never been to anything like that at all. And the GPS was telling us, like, oh, you're here. But
it was just people's houses.
It was people's houses. There were no signs. There was nothing to indicate that there was a cemetery there. So,
yeah, I thought maybe it was like, instead of having like a cemetery office, like maybe somebody's house was the office and listed as the address. I don't know, but we couldn't find it.
But there still wasn't.
Super big bummer.
You would think even somebody that made their house a business would still have a sign or something.
Because if we went to a cemetery, a pet cemetery with a necrophonic app, and we literally got moos on the necrophonic app, I think I would believe it. I would believe that app.
That's what we wanted to catch.
Like moos or horse noises, I would be like, oh my god, all this is real, right? The apps can be trusted.
Yes. But we didn't get to do that.
So that was really all we got at the cemeteries. It wasn't a ton, but there were some really interesting, notable things.
It was just a nice summer day to be outside.
It was fun. Me and Mandy can have fun doing anything. We're goofy.
Mm-hmm. Plus, we got to eat good food.
Ooh, we did get to eat good food. It was really good Mexican food.
Well, thanks for listening.
We hope you enjoyed.
Bye.
Bye.